Do you think humans are born basically good or bad? Stay tuned to find out what George Lucas thought. Sukoigar, or hello. Welcome to Reimagining Star Wars, where we hope to bring the innocent joy of Star Wars back to you. This is part 2 of our series on the Force, the Darkside, and balance. Go to the card in the corner to see part 1. Don't forget to subscribe to see more. I am a magic maker. Unfortunately, Vega is not with us this time. However, together you and I are going to explore the essence and psychology of the dark side today, so stick around. The age-old question that has been asked is, are we born naturally good or naturally evil? While we won't answer that question here, we need to delve into what George Lucas thought was true in his creation, Star Wars. Last time we discussed the Force and how George Lucas derived it from the Romantic period of literature. We discussed that it's nature's magic and is the energy of the natural state of nature. We also revealed that the dark side is the unnatural or corrupt state of the Force. Now let's delve into the essence of the dark side and its influence within the hearts of men or sentient beings. Since we know the Romantic works like Frankenstein had an indirect influence on Star Wars, we need to ask what influenced the Romantic authors and what was their position on humanity. The poem Paradise Lost by John Milton deeply influenced many of the Romantic writers. They came to the conclusion that everyone was born naturally good, as stated by Dr. Jocelyn Cower. The Romantics held that the humans were by nature good, yet became corrupted by society. Even Satan, whom Percy Shelley considered to be the hero of Milton's poem, was considered to have been good in the beginning and then corrupted. The British Library synopsis of Paradise Lost states, Paradise Lost was the source of inspiration and fascination for the Romantic poets, such as William Blake and Percy B. Shelley. The Romantic interpretation of Satan as the hero of Paradise Lost stems from Blake's statement that Milton was of the devil's party without knowing it. In addition, in the Frankenstein novel, Mary Shelley highlights the connection between her work and Milton's poem. The epigraph on the title page of the 1818 edition of Frankenstein is from Paradise Lost. Did I request thee, Maker, from my clay, to mold me man? The creature also reads a poem with wonder and awe as part of his self-education. Stop for a minute and think, does this not sound like Darth Vader, a kid who is good and then corrupted? Is Darth Vader the Satan of George Lucas' version of Paradise Lost? I love all kinds of old things, but I would say the primary word for me is romantic. In terms of stories, I think the word romantic suggests a humanist perspective on things, an emotional point of view. That's really the primary focus of everything I do. George Lucas, New York Times interview, March 21, 1999. According to Dr. Bo Bennett, humanists hold that humans are born good for a lack of a better word. That is, the vast majority of us are born with a strong sense of empathy that serves as the biological basis for our morality. So when George Lucas described Anakin, what did he say? It's not apparent in the first 3 movies, but when you see the movies I haven't made yet, that the issue of how do we get Darth Vader back is really the central issue. How do we get him back to the little boy that he was in the first movie? That good person who loved and was generous and kind and had a good heart. George Lucas, Bill Moyers interview, June 18, 1999. George Lucas is clearly describing a person who was born naturally good and became corrupted. So if the Force is the energy of nature in its natural state, and people are born good in their natural state, then that is the state where they're able to feel and align with the Force, to be one with nature, so to speak. So in order to align with the dark side, the corrupted form of nature, one must also be corrupted. They must lose that which is natural, their humanity. Darth Vader was a composite man. He was half machine, half man. And that's where he lost a lot of his humanity. Is that, he has mechanical legs, and he has mechanical arms, possibly, and he's hooked up to a breathing machine. So there's not much actual human left in him. George Lucas, Bill Moyers interview, June 18, 1999. It appears that to lose one's natural state of humanity is the dark side. How does one lose their humanity? According to Diane Barth in Psychology Today, Heinz Kohut, an Australian psychoanalyst best known for his development of self-psychology in the 1960s, argued that the loss of humanity or increasing aggression against another person is always psychologically motivated. By this he meant that fear, anger, and hate always have emotional and psychological meaning.
Yes, Jedi strength flows from the Force. But beware of the dark side. Anger, fear, aggression. The dark side of the Force are they. Easily they flow, quick to join you in a fight. If once you start down the dark path, forever will it dominate your destiny. Consume you it will, as it did.
According to Kohut, the motivation for these unhealthy reactions is a narcissistic response to the ignoring or lack of empathy by the parent or caregivers. While there are many distinctions of narcissists, according to Malkin et al., there are three basic types: extroverted narcissists, introverted narcissists, and communal narcissists. But all types have this in common: they become angry and aggressive when their needs are not met, and they feel entitled, lack empathy, and exploit others to meet their own needs. According to Henry A. Murray, former director of the Harvard Psychological Clinic, the adult Hitler was a counteractive type, by which he meant a person primarily motivated by resentment and revenge in response to prior narcissistic wounding and profound feelings of inferiority. Pathological narcissism develops as a compensatory defense against the painful wounds and inferiority feelings. There is no question that Hitler's personality exuded pathological narcissism, or psychopathic narcissism, and may have met the modern diagnostic criteria for narcissistic personality disorder. In the 1999 Bill Moyer interview, Bill Moyer comments on Anakin becoming Darth Vader. And I'm sure you'll take care of that, but, I look at Hitler and wonder what did he look like at 8 years old, or Stalin? Lucas responds, there's a lot of people like that. You see them all the time. And that's what I wonder. I wonder how can those people possibly exist? How could, what is it in the human brain that gives us the capacity to be as evil as human beings have been in the past and are right now? So where did Lucas go to find answers to such questions? As many of you already know, Yoda is based off Buddhist monk and tutor to the Dalai Lama, Tenzab Serkong Rinpoche.
Here is the path to the dark side. Fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. Hate leads to suffering.
According to Buddhadasa Bhikkhu, the founder of Suanmokkh Buddhism, selfishness gives rise to greed, anger, hatred, fear, worry, frustration, envy, jealousy, possessiveness. All these things are aspects of selfishness. All of this leads to hate, which no one will deny that hate is the dark side. According to psychotherapist Allison Abrams, author of Nurturing Self-Compassion, hate derives from fear. Fear of the other, or fear of things that are different, or what we don't understand. Fear of ourselves, which is made manifest in projection, or our tendency to reject that which we don't like about ourselves. We think judgment is how one rids oneself of undesirable traits we fear, but this method only perpetuates repression. Martha Nussbaum's book, The Monarchy of Fear, proposes that the fundamental emotion is fear, which contributes to other emotions such as anger, disgust, and envy. Now, anger. According to Dr. Harry Mills, anger is often a substitute emotion. By this we mean that sometimes people make themselves angry so they don't have to feel pain. People change their feelings of pain into anger because it feels better to be angry than it does to be in pain. This changing of pain into anger may be done consciously or unconsciously. Additionally, angry people most always feel that their anger is justified. According to First Psychology, anger is an immediate response that everyone experiences. However, when it gives rise to aggression, it becomes a problem. And back to Dr. Mills. For anger and its first cousin, resentment, is what we're all likely to experience whenever we conclude that another has seriously abused us. Left to fester, that righteous anger eventually becomes the corrosive ulcer that is bitterness and hate. And finally, hate. To paraphrase Dr. Patrick Wanis, renowned behavioral researcher, Hatred relies on two emotions, desire and aggression. Desire for the group that includes you, the group that is favored, and 2, aggression for the group that excludes you, or otherwise the group that has been deemed as different, dangerous, and a threat to the favored group. Now I think it is clear what emotions lead to the dark side, if it wasn't before, and that narcissistic internalization leads to an unnatural and overwhelming emotional state. So if this is clearly the dark side, what is often mistaken as the dark side, but is not? Death is not of the dark side.
Death is a natural part of life. Rejoice for those around you who transform into the Force. Mourn them do not. Miss them do not.
Things must die to provide life. The lion kills to live, but that is murder to the gazelle. There is no dark side in nature apart from sentience. It is the fear of death that creates Darth Vader. He becomes death in order to exert some control over it, a term called death denial. Death denial, the feeling that one controls death by killing, is outlined by cultural anthropologist Ernest Becker in 1973. This is covered far better by Wisecrack in their philosophy of Darth Vader. You can go to the link in the corner, but come back here. It's quite good. What draws Anakin to the dark side? Seeking to do what is unnatural and prevent others from dying? Yes, that's it.
Did you ever hear the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise?
No.
I thought not. It's not a story the Jedi would tell you. It's a Sith legend. Darth Plagueis was a dark lord of the Sith, so powerful and so wise, he could use the Force to influence the midi-chlorians to create life. He had such a knowledge of the dark side, he could even keep the ones he cared about from dying.
Is it possible to learn this power?
Not from a Jedi.
Destruction is not of the dark side. It is just another form of death, and it fosters rebirth. What of unknown or mysterious things? No, neither are they of the dark side. We are quick to judge, fear, and even hate the unknown. We may not admit it, but we are all plagued with xenophobic tendencies. Jeffrey Winter's Psychology Today. It's the fear and hate, not the unknown or mysterious. The dark side within us springs from fear of losing what we have, anger from lack of control, and hate from resentment of those we feel have some control over us.
Premonitions? Premonitions? These visions you have.
They're of pain, suffering, death.
Yourself you speak of? Or someone you know?
Someone.
Close to you?
Yes.
Careful you must be when sensing the future, Anakin. The fear of loss is a path to the dark side.
I won't let these visions come true, Master Yoda.
Attachment leads to jealousy. The shadow of greed, that is.
What must I do, Master Yoda?
Train yourself to let go of everything you fear to lose.
So why does attachment lead to jealousy? Jealousy is all about selfishness, the essential element of narcissism. According to Dr. Carol Morgan, excessive jealousy or possessiveness are not normal. Jealousy, possessiveness, is caused by hidden fears in the mind. For instance, the very fear of losing something or someone special for one's life makes him or her possessive. Letting go is the first step of not thinking about yourself and releasing your own desires. That's why you must learn to let go. So, the natural man, according to the Romantics and Humanists, is good, but is taught selfishness. As we dwell on only ourself, we tend toward an unnatural narcissistic state. In this state lies the path to the dark side, because for one to lose their humanity, they must tread a dark, narcissistic path, where you ultimately only care about yourself. The essence of the dark side is selfishness, for as social creatures, it is selfishness that is unnatural. So as we discussed last time, the Force is the natural, and the dark side is the unnatural. The dark side within us is our unnatural state of selfishness, according to the Romantic tradition. Selfishness is antithetical to our social interaction. If you like this, subscribe, and click the card on the right to watch more. Ray Torche me. May we meet again.